This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, here we are, closing moments of Tisha B'Av. So if you stuck it out this far, this, as far as I'm concerned, is some of the most unbelievable material I've ever come across. Mamish. So at the end of Eicha, we read, Al zeh haya davel libeinu. For this, my heart grows sick. Al eileh chashchu einenu. For these things, my eyes are darkened. Al har Tzion sheshamim. For the mountain of Tzion, which is desolate, shualim hilchuvai. The foxes that roam there. Ato Hashem li'olam teshav. You Hashem, you dwell forever. Kisachol adar vadar. Your throne is for all generations. Lama lanetzach tishkachenu. Why do you forsake us for eternity? Tazveinu la'erech yomim. Okay, so apparently the Navi Yirmiyah is saying that of all things, of all aspects of the Korban, that which is most sickening are the foxes that roam on the Temple Mount. Now obviously we're familiar with the story. Rabbi Akiva had a different view on this. When Rabbi Akiva saw the foxes, he laughed. So the Gemara tells us at the end of Makkos that Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Lozman Azariah, Rabbi Shua, Rabbi Akiva, they were going, and they heard a big commotion coming from Rome, and they were crying. The Tanoim, Rabbi Gamliel, Lozman Azariah, Rabbi Shua, they cried. Rabbi Akiva laughed. They said, Rabbi Akiva, what kind of sense of humor do you have? Why are you laughing? He said, why are you crying? They said, what do you mean? These Ovdei Avodah Zarah, they're sitting in tranquility, and our house and the footstool of God is being trampled. How could we not cry? Rabbi Akiva says, that's why I'm laughing. Let's make a kal v'chomer. Im la'ovrei ritzaynai ka'ach, lo'isei ritzaynai alachas kama v'kama. If this is the success, this is the happiness, this is the reward, this is the good times that those who violate God's will get, you could just imagine what's in store for Klal Yisrael. Okay. Then the Gemara tells us another Maisa. Shuv pamachas, another time, hayu oilin liRushalayim. They were coming up to Yerushalayim and they got to Har HaTzofim. Everybody knows that when do you rise Kriya? When you come to Yerushalayim and you get to Har HaTzofim, that's when you could see the Har HaBayis. Karo Bigdayim, they tore their garments. Kivan shehigiu lahar HaBayis, ro shuel sheyatza mibeis kadshe hakadashim. They saw a fox emerging from the Holy of Holies. They began to cry. Rabbi Akiva laughed. It's not because I happen to know somebody. He has he cannot deal with a serious situation. It's an issue. It's an emotional issue. They laugh. Some people, they can't emotionally deal. Obviously, Chas v'Shalom, Rabbi Akiva was laughing for good reason. So they said, Rabbi Akiva, why are you laughing? He said, why are you crying? They said, what do you mean, why are we crying? This is a place where a non-Kohen who comes to this place is Chayiv Misa, and now there are foxes trampling the Temple Mount. How can we not cry? And Rabbi Akiva said, that's exactly why I'm laughing. We know, basically, to make a long story short, the Navi connects two prophecies. The prophecy of Uriah and the prophecy of Zechariah. And the Gemara says, what does the prophecy of Uriah have to do with the prophecy of Zechariah? Uriah prophecies about the destruction of Yerushalayim. Zechariah, like we mentioned this morning, Zechariah ben Berechia, prophecies about the good times in Yerushalayim. Od yeshvu, zekenim, uzekenois, berchoivos Yerushalayim, v'yishmeshantoi, v'yadoi, me'rov yomim. Okay, so it says the Gemara, these two prophecies are connected to each other. Says Rabbi Akiva, Kol zman ad shalei neskaima nevu asay shel Uriah, so long as I didn't see the destruction of Yerushalayim, who knows, maybe I'll never see the grandeur of Yerushalayim. Now that I see the destruction of Yerushalayim, now I could rest assured that I will see the majesty, the grandeur of Yerushalayim. They told Rabbi Akiva the following: Akiva nichamtanu, Akiva nichamtanu. Okay, so we have a major machlokes over here, where the Navi says that in general, when you see the foxes on the Temple Mount, the reaction is al zeh haya davel libenu. There is nothing more that makes the heart more sick. There's nothing that is more disturbing than to see foxes, and Rabbi Akiva finds it funny. Rabbi Akiva gets a kick out of it. Rabbi Akiva laughs. What exactly is a machlokes? So Chassam Sofer says al pi drush, very interesting machlokes. Machlokes is totally on a different machlokes. That is a well-known machlokes. Kitcha Rishona, Kitcha Lashaita. Why Kitcha Lasalavai? or a Kitcha La'asalavi? We know when they sanctified Eretz Yisrael, was it temporary or was it eternal? It's machlokes Tanoim. Rabbi Akiva happens to hold Kitcha Rishayna, Kitcha L'Shaita, v'loi Kitcha La'asalavi. Rabbi Yeshua happens to hold Kitcha Rishayna, Kitcha L'Shaita, v'Kitcha La'asalavi. How do we paskin? Paskin Kitcha La'asalavi. The Rambam paskins Kitcha La'asalavi. That's why Bizman Hazeh we're now to go on the Harabayas, because we're choshish for the Shita of the Rambam. Even though people say, yeah, the Meiri reports, which is true, that he heard that the minhag was that they used to go to the Harabayas. You know that? First of all, Meiri didn't say he saw it. He heard it. And even if it's true, this is how halacha works. Halacha works is that you could follow a certain halacha until you have a Pesach Achron and comes and codifies the other way. The Rambam came and said, we paskin, Kitcha Rishon, Kitcha Shad, Kitcha L'Asalavai, henceforth, you can't go to the Harabayas anymore. Okay. But it's machlokes. Rabbi Akiva says, you could go to the Harabayas. Rabbi Akiva says, Kitcha Rishon, Kitcha L'Shaita, V'loi Kitcha L'Asalavai. Mamela, when Rabbi Akiva sees a fox, it's a joke. Big deal. You're allowed to go there. Foxes could go there. Kitcha Rishayna, Kitcha L'Shaita, V'loi Kitcha L'Asalavai. It's not a problem. Rabbi Akiva's L'Shitase. Rabbi Akiva was Metzache because he holds Kitcha L'Shaita, V'loi Kitcha L'Asalavai. All the other Tanoim hold, like we hold, that Kitcha Rishayna, Kitcha L'Shaita, V'Kitcha L'Asalavai. Mamela, the foxes roaming on the Harabayas are fundamentally painful. Okay, that's what the Chasam Sofer says.
How's Rabbi Akiva cholek with Yirmiyahu?
How is Rabbi? So you mean how does Rabbi Akiva read the pasuk? Obviously, he's not arguing with Yirmiyahu Navi.
Obviously.
Look, where I come from, in whenever you have a machlokes, there's a rule. You try to minimize the machlokes as much as possible. I'm sure there was an element of sadness that Rabbi Akiva felt as well. Whether Kitcha Rishon or Kitcha L'Shaita or Kitcha L'Asalavai, it's still not a very inspiring scene to see foxes roam on the Harabayas. So in general, I'm sure Rabbi Akiva agreed with the feelings of the pasuk Al Zeh Haya Dava Libenu. But there was a certain ironic humor that Rabbi Akiva found in it, and that is, big deal anyway. Anybody could go to the Harabayas because v'loi Kitcha L'Asalavai. Okay. Comes the Aruch LaNer. Aruch LaNer, one of the great Gedolim, one of the great Achronim, did not live so long ago. It's one of the German Achronim, very interesting personality, very educated, went to university. He's also a big makubal. People don't realize. He's a very interesting personality. In any event, the Aruch LaNer writes, what exactly, it doesn't say Rabbi Akiva saw foxes, plural, he saw a fox. What's this fox that Rabbi Akiva saw emerging from the Harabayas? So the Aruch LaNer cites the Gemara in Yuma. The Gemara in Yuma tells us an unbelievable thing. That in the times of Ezra, the Anshe Knesset Hagdoila were very brave, very courageous. Yeah? The lesson of the Leshem is what? Herhivu benafsham. Yeah? They were very brave, they're very courageous. And they made the following request. They went to God and said, God, now that we were mavatel the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah, they went ahead, they said, let's get rid of the Avodah Zarah for Taiva as well. But the Gemara discusses, they said like this. Look at number 5. The Gemara in Yuma Samach Tesam Beis. Vayitzaku al Hashem Laikim b'kol gadol. They cried out to Hashem, Mayom, or what they say, Amarav, Yitem Rav Yechanan. Bye, whoa. Hainu, hai, da'achrave, lemikdasha, v'kalya, lehechlai, v'katlinu, lekulu, tzadike, v'aglinu, liyisrael, me'arahui. This is what destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, burnt the Heichal, killed all the tzaddikim, exiled Klal Yisrael from the land. Va'adayin merakid beinon, it's still prancing among us. What are they referring to? The desire for Avodah Zarah. In fact, we mock the desire for Avodah Zarah. Menashe, yeah? Menashe, who committed his early reign to putting Avodah Zarah in every corner of Eretz Yisrael, including Kodesh HaKadoshim, he came in a dream, the Gemara says, to Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi was basically like mocking Menashe. What are you serving Avodah Zarah? That's a joke. And Menashe came to Rav Ashi in a dream. He said, if you were around in my times, you would be running after me, picking up my coattails, running after Avodah Zarah. So the rabbis, the Ashkenazim, realized the power of the desire for Avodah Zarah. They said to Rebbe Nisham, Yahavtilan, Klum Yahavtilan, Eluk Bulibeigra. Why do you give us the desire as an Isaiah and as a challenge so that we should get schar? He said, Michael Tavis, it's okay. We don't need it. We don't need the schar. You only gave it to us to get schar. We're Michael the schar. Michael Toivasain. We don't need the schar. So what happened? A little tzetl came down from Shamayim. Okay, in Judaism, the only tzetlach come down from heaven. They come down from Shamayim. You don't give them. Okay. Ba'in nafalu piska mirakia. A tzetl came down from Shamayim to have a kasaba emes. It said emes. Says the Gemara. What do we see from here? Shema mina. They fasted 3 days, they fasted 3 nights. Big deal, you think you're fasting here, you're learning. Big deal, they fasted 3 days, 3 nights. Masru nehalayim. And they were given the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. What happened? Listen carefully. Nafak asa ki gurya denura mibeis kache kadoshim. A fiery lion emerged from the Kodesh HaKadoshim. It's like all of a sudden the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah is loose. Now they have to catch it. If they wanna tame it, if they wanna hold it in check, they gotta catch the lion. Says the Gemara, Amar Hu Navi Yisrael, the Navi said to Klal Yisrael, this is no ordinary lion that's loose from the zoo. Hainu Yitzra Da'avodas Koichavim. This is the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. The Gemara says, Bahade de tafsuha le ishtamet binisa mimazie. While they were grabbing it, a hair came loose from its mane. Verama kala, the lion raised its voice. Va'azal kale arba mea parsi, and the voice of the lion went 400 parsi. And then the Gemara says they needed to put the lion in a special lead canister. Fine. By the way, what's this hair that emerged? Interesting, right? So we have the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. We caught it, we captured it. Only one hair emerged. What's the hair? Rabbi Akiva says, if you look in Sukkah Nun Beis, it says that Asalava Hashem is going to show the Rishonim, the Yetzer Hara. It will look like a hair. Why a hair? This is the hair. The hair that sort of escaped from the lion. That's the hair. Okay. Says the Aruch LaNer. What do we see from this Gemara? That what destroyed the first Beis Hamikdash? The Gemara says the big 3, Avodah Zarah, Gila, Rashu, Chataman. But if you had to pinpoint it of all 3, which one primarily? Avodah Zarah. And how did we know that the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah ceased? When the lion emerged from the Kodesh HaKadoshim, says the Aruch. If that's the case then Rabbi Akiva, who lives when? During Bayesheni, if they see another animal emerging from the Kodesh HaKadoshim, Mistama, that animal represents what destroyed the second Beis HaMikdash. In other words, if the lion that they saw emerging from the Kodesh HaKadoshim in the times of the Bayis Rishon represents what destroyed the first Beis HaMikdash, Mistama, whatever animal they saw emerging from the Kodesh HaKadoshim in the times of Bayis Sheni, represents what destroyed the Beis HaMikdash during Bayis Sheni. And what was it? A fox. And now all we need to do is identify what is the symbolism of the fox. Says the Aruch LaNer, very simple. No, everybody knows this. What destroyed the second Beis HaMikdash? Sinas Chinam, everybody thinks, right? Everybody knows sometime they're a kid that Sinas Chinam, everyone's indoctrinated with Sinas Chinam. That is represented by the fox. Why? Because the lion is very simple. What's a lion? It's a powerful animal that just knocks you over. Avodah Zarah, brute strength. You, Rabbi Yid, you want to do the right thing? Too bad. I will pull you away. I'm the mighty lion of Avodah Zarah. But the fox is a different kind of animal. What is the fox? It's sly, it's clever, it's tricky, it's underhanded, it's conniving. That's Sinas Chinam. Sinas Chinam is a much more sophisticated Avodah Zarah. Oh, Sinas Chinam. Avada. I love Jews in general, but this guy, he davens this nosach, and Memela, he's a Rasha, and he's an Apikairos, and he's a Tzeduki, and that guy, Avada, I love Jews, but that guy also, he doesn't have this Tanhaga that I have. It's a very sophisticated Avodah Zarah, it's very conniving, deceiving Avodah Zarah, Yetzer Hara. That's represented by the fox. The fox that they saw emerge from the Kodesh HaKadoshim, says the Aruch LaNer, is none other than the Yetzer Hara for Sinas Chinam. represented by the fox. The fox represents the conniving, deceiving Yetzer Hara. So the question is then, why is Rabbi Akiva laughing? Sounds pretty serious. So Aruch LaNer says in another piece, I think it's somewhere here on the sheet, and we're going to borrow number 11. The Aruch LaNer says, well, by Bayis Rishon, they saw the lion emerge. What did that represent? That didn't represent the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. That represented that finally we've rid ourselves of the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. The lion emerging represented the fact that the Knesset Agdala intervened, and finally we're rid of the lion. So the fox emerging from the Kodesh HaKadoshim represents the fact that yes, the Yetzer Hara for Sinas Chinam destroyed the second Beis HaMikdash, but now that it's emerging, that sort of represents Achros Hayamim, when we've rid ourselves finally of this invidious sin of Sinas Chinam. Okay, Rabbi Isai, I would like to suggest a new pshat.
Maybe that's the answer, because when I said before, Yirmiyah says Shu'olim, it does say Shu'ol.
Yeah.
These are two different Hechatimses.
Yeah.
One is a Shu'ol, which represents the Sinas Chinam. Shu'olim is something...
In general, the regular foxes, that's... I hear. I want to say another pshat. What exactly was the fox that emerged from the Kodesh HaKadoshim? And I believe the Chassam Sofer says very similarly, what exactly was this fox that emerged from the Kodesh HaKadoshim? We find in Shas that what does a fox represent? The Gemara says in Brachos, look at number 6, Samach Aleph Amud Beis, that the murder of Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara says Tanur Rabbanon, the Romans made a decree that you can't teach Torah Barabim. And Rabbi Akiva went and he was Makel Kehilois Barabim. And Papos ben Yehuda came to Rabbi Akiva and he said, Rabbi Akiva, are you crazy? Don't you know the Romans issued a decree that anyone who teaches Torah Barabim will be killed? And Rabbi Akiva said, let me give you a mashal. There was once a fox walking by the riverside, and there were a bunch of fish swimming, navigating, trying to get beyond the nets. And the fox turns to the fish. He says, "Hey, Doug, what's up? How are things going? How's everything? I see you're having a tough day. You're trying to navigate the nets. I have a good idea. Why don't you just come onto the dry land?" So the fish says, "You're the one who they call Chacham Shebachayos, you fool." And the fish makes a kavachomer. Umadach b'machgaim chiyuseinu, madach, in the place of our chiyus, of our life. We're in danger. If we would jump out of the river and come onto the dry land, we're certainly dead fish. Says Rabbi Akiva, the same thing with the Torah. If in the Torah, if even when we teach Torah, which is kihu chayenu v'orach yameinu, the Torah is our life, and even so our lives are endangered, then just imagine what would happen. Imagine what would happen if we would stop teaching Torah. So Rabbi Isai, I ask you, what do we see from this Gemara? What does the fox represent? The Aveira of Bitul Torah. You got it. The fox represents Aveira of Bitul Torah. Chassam Sofer says this Befeirosh in one of his drashas in number 7. The fox represents the Aveira of Bitul Torah. So you say, what does Bitul Torah got to do with the Churban Beis HaMikdash? Well, everybody knows the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed al Azvam es Tairasi. But even the second Beis HaMikdash, it's well known, the Archaim HaKadosh says that there are 4 Golosim, and each Golos were going to be Nigal, B'schus, either one of the 3 Avos, or Moshe Rabbeinu. So Avraham Avinu, B'schus Avraham, we were taken out of the first Golos. B'schus Yitzchak, the second Golos. B'schus Yaakov, the third Golos. It says Archaim HaKadosh number 9, the beginning of Parashat Tetzaveh, the Golos that we're in now will be redeemed B'schus Moshe. In fact, Archaim is L'shitase. Archaim writes in many places, most notably Parashat Vayechi, that who will be Mashiach? Moshe Rabbeinu. In fact, the Archaim HaKadosh, Moshe Rabbeinu is not from Shevet Yehuda. And the Archaim HaKadosh says what? Yeah, he is. Yeah, but he's a Levi. Yeah, but he's Koil all of Klal Yisrael. V'hamei v'nyavin. It's just one of those things you have to understand. Says Archaim HaKadosh, so what's taking Moshe Rabbeinu so long? By the way, Archaim HaKadosh gives a remez. Moshe stands for Ma Shahaya Hu Shayia. Moshe was a Goyal Rishon, he will be the Goyal Achrain. Says Archaim HaKadosh, so what's taking so long? Very pashut. Moshe Rabbeinu is a Malamei Torah L'Amo Yisrael. There are 100 people in the shul. Why are there only 25 people here? How many people are there? Bitul Torah. Who cares what you put in the omelet? Olives, mushrooms, cheese. Who cares? You eat it and you feel sick right after anyway. Who cares? Just eat plain, something plain. That's what you're spending the whole day on. What you're going to eat. What's going to make... I'm spending hours. What's going to make me sick after the fast? Come and learn. Says Ar Chaim HaKadosh, the Geula will not come until we rectify Bitul Torah. It is very well known, the Ramchal writes, if you look in the back of the Mesilas Yesharim, you have something called Derech Eitz Chaim, and the Ramchal quotes a whole mysterious thing from Rav Shamshin Me'ash Tripoli, and then the Ramchal writes as follows: Harei Tovin, Beseda, Shekol HaKabolos Shenasati L'cha Arhena Hinemes. Says Ramchal, based on the above-mentioned story of what they told Rav Shamshin, the Rav Shamshin said, they told Rav Shamshin, if you stop learning, then we'll stop the Gzeros of Tach V'Tat. And Rav Shamshin said, nothing doing. Says the Ramchal, what we see from here, the Limud Torasenu Hula Yetza Hara Hula Sitra Achra Sam Hamaves. Torah is poison to the Yetzer Hara on the dark side. Ula Achenu Beis Yisrael Hu Sam Achayim. For us, it's the elixir of life. Says the Ramchal, V'hinei tira, shechurban beis kodshenu v'sefartenu v'shegolinu me'artzenu haya ba'avoin bitul Torah. The question is, how could the Ramchal say that? But that was only bias Rishon. No. First of all, you have to know a very important yesod. We are right now reeling from Churban Bayis Rishon. Churban Bayis Sheni, the second Beis HaMikdash, was not really a full Beis HaMikdash. Churban Beis HaMikdash was only like a temporary shot in the arm to get us through the Arichos Hagolos. The Ikar Beis HaMikdash was Bayis Rishon. When that was destroyed, we were dead meat. Elamai, we couldn't last 2,000 years in Golos, so Hashem gave us a Bayis Sheni. But the Ikar Beis HaMikdash is Bayis Rishon. So whatever destroyed the first Beis HaMikdash, that's what we're reeling from. The Ramchal says, Ve'omru kol hagoyim. He says the pasuk in Chumash, Al meh asa Hashem kacha la'oretz hazois. Why did God destroy the land? The answer is, Al Ozvu es bris Hashem Elokei Avoisam. V'nei be'emes motzinu. Ramchal quotes Yushalmi. Viter HaKadosh Baruch Hu. God is willing to overlook Avodah Zarah, Gilei Araya, Shvichas Damim, V'loi Viter Al Ma'asa Shel Torah. Nimsa, few lines down. Kol Hakas Shekoas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Al Amoy Yisrael Hu B'Shvil HaTorah. All this anger, everything we said today, all 45 kinnis, you can sum it up in 2 words. Bitul Torah. Bitul Torah. Says Ramchal, Bitul Torah? I mean, what's so bad? What's so bad? So I come home at night, and I twiddle my thumbs. Who cares? Who cares I come home at night, and I watch a thing that flashes every 3 seconds, something else. Another manuvel, another toyeva. Who cares? It's so bad, I'm not hurting anybody. Says Ramchal, you are. Nobody knows what something accomplishes except for the one who made it. And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who orchestrates everything that occurs in this world, He knows, God knows, that nothing is corrected and nothing is rectified except for Torah. And that's what all this anger is for. And therefore, says Ramchal, Chazal tell us, Kol dar shalei nivna beis hamikdash biyamav ki'ilu nechra biyamav. Don't forget that. Right? In other words, we're living 2016. We ask, who destroyed the Beis HaMikdash? Me and you. We did it together. We're partners in crime. Don't blame your great-grandfather. Right now, if we would have been doing the right thing, it would be up. Elamai, we're doing the wrong thing. In other words, if there was a Beis HaMikdash standing yesterday, it would be burning down today. Because how do we know? Because it's not here. It's not here. Says Ramchal, Anu Grama B'Nizakin. So you want to know, how does this fit into this Gemara, to that Gemara, Sinas Chinam? Bottom line is, that's what the man says. Kol Hakash Hakas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Al Amo Yisrael Hu B'Shvil Bitul Torah. And what figure, what animal represents Bitul Torah? It's the good old fox. The fox of Rabbi Akiva's mashal. The fox that Rabbi Akiva said, I'm going to stop teaching Torah Barabim. It's like the fox telling the fish to come onto the dry land. The fox that came out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim represents the Avera that destroyed Churban Beis HaMikdash, the Avera of Sinaschi, of Bitul Torah, and according to Aruch LaNer, Sinaschina. And by the way, you could say Rabbi Akiva laughed because, like the Aruch LaNer says, because he saw it leaving, he saw it emerging. He saw the end of days when Klal Yisrael would rectify this infraction, when Klal Yisrael would correct the problem, and the fox is finally leaving, and we'll be able to come back to Yerushalayim and rebuild the Beis HaMikdash.
This is the Nechra of the Yom it's very hard to understand. How can I rebuild the Beis HaMikdash? The Doyer of Rashi couldn't do it. The Doyer of Vilna Gaon couldn't do it. Countless other big Gedolim couldn't do it. So who are we to do it?
Good kasha.
Edited.
Good kasha. We could do it though. There are different terutzim. Either it's cumulative, or in certain degree we have greater capacity. I want to share you something. I heard it quoted by a very chashva rav in the neighborhood from the Chida. It's not in the Chida, because I called him up and he knows everything. And he said he never saw it in the Chida. He heard it many years ago. He said if I ever find it in the Chida, I should let him know. It's not in the Chida. But I finally found this week, there's a new sefer from Ram Shor. He quotes an unbelievable Perosh Anecha. It's called Aloin Bachos by Rabbi Vitali, a Talmud of the Ramaz. Who's the Ramaz? Rabbeinu Moshe Zakuto. Who's Rabbi Moshe Zakuto? The Ramchal's Rebbe was Rabbi Shaya Bason. Rabbi Shaya Bason's Rebbe is Rabbi Moshe Zakuto. He's a Talmud of Moshe Zakuto. He says, Mamish Dvarim Ayumim. What makes us sick? What makes our heart be full of pain? When we look today, and who's prancing on the Har HaBayis today? The Arabs, the Muslims. You take the word Shualim, and you unscramble it, and you get Yishmael. Har Tzion, Sheshamim, Shualim, Hilchubai. Who are the Shualim? The Shualim are Yishmael. That's what causes Alzeh Haya David. So that's how they say it over in the Chida. I don't think that's the correct way to say it over, because it doesn't spell out Yishmael, because Shualim has a Vav, Yishmael doesn't have a Vav. Also, Yishmael has an Aleph, Shualim doesn't. So this is the way Rabbi Binyamin Vitali says it. He says on the fourth to last line, the gematria of Shualim without a Vav is the same as Yishmael, as follows: Shualim im hakoilo. In other words, Shualim plus 1 equals Yishmael. And everybody understands that. Everybody feels that. Everybody knows. When you look today, you know there's only one place in the world where a Jew is not allowed to daven. You know that? There's only one place in the entire world where a Jew is not allowed to daven today. The Har HaBayis. You can't go there. You know, you could go there, but we better not catch you davening. Right? Legally. You could go there. Halachically, you can't go there. But legally, you could go there as long as you don't daven. So it's very painful to see Arabs pouncing, trampling on the Har HaBayis. It's sickening. So you wonder, so why was Rabbi Akiva laughing? So I'll tell you what I think, and you take it or leave it. You don't have to agree with it. Many years ago, Rabbi Avigdor Miller wrote his first book, Rejoice, O Youth. The best book ever written in English. And he took it to all the publishing companies, and they said, Rabbi, we'll publish it on one condition, that you take out the following. And he said, no. So he had to self-publish the book. So let me read to you what he writes. I'll tell you what he writes. He says like this: the biggest chesed in the world, and this is like a little bit of a different way of looking at things, the biggest chesed in the world is that the Arabs have control of the Har HaBayis. Why is that? Because imagine if the Christians would have control of the Har HaBayis. So what would they do? They'd put up their icons, they'd put up their images, they'd put up their yoizels, and they would defile the Har HaBayis. It would be full of Avodah Zarah. So Baruch Hashem, the Christians don't have control of the Har HaBayis. So you say, well, why can't we have control? It would be a terrible thing. You go there, you're chayiv kores. Then Israelis would go with their women, they'd be taking pictures, they'd be defiling the place. It's the worst thing in the world. The biggest bracha in the world is that who has the Har HaBayis? The Yishmaelim. So what do? They're not Ovdei Avodah Zarah. There are no icons, there are no images, there are no ladies, and more importantly, they make sure that we don't go there. And we don't even have to pay them. And it's like a backward joke. They think, the Jews can't go to the Har HaBayis, we have the Har HaBayis. No. They're doing our dirty work and we don't even have to pay them. Every Jew that comes by, they scare them away. They save us from Chiyuv Nisa, and they save us from defiling it and taking pictures. The biggest bracha in the world. Now, the truth is, it's a sickening thing to see Arabs on the Har HaBayis. But Rabbi Akiva, in my opinion, could not help but get a little geschmack out of the fact that those shualim, those Arabs are there. They're doing the dirty work. They're guarding it from Avodah Zarah, and they're guarding it, more importantly, from us. And Mirz Hashem, we should all be zoicha to return there, b'tzion, b'rina, l'shana haba, b'Yerushalayim.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.